Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Grayboardgamer here with a playthrough of RWBY Combat Ready. It's been more than 10 years since I've watched any anime, so my knowledge of what is current is non-existent. So if I say any of the terms incorrectly or mispronounce anything in the game, I apologize ahead of time. Without further delay, let's get this box open and get it set up. RWBY Combat Ready is a cooperative game. I'm going to play this as a 3-player game. First, I need to select which characters will be part of my group. The game comes with 5 to choose from. From left to right, we have Weiss Schnee, Penny Polendina, Ruby Rose, Blake Belladonna, and Yang Xiaolong. As I always do whenever possible, I like to choose things randomly. So I'll use a die to determine which 3 characters I will use for this playthrough. 2. Penny will be one of our characters. 4. Blake. And 3. Ruby. So the 3 here in the center will be used for this playthrough. We will not use Weiss or Yang. Each player has their own deck of cards. The player board, which is called the scroll marker. Each player also has a mini and a semblance marker. Each player will take a green cube and place it on 0 on the experience track, and a red cube and place it at the beginning of their aura track. Each deck consists of several types of cards. The starting cards are outlined in black. The cards outlined in gold are the upgrade cards that you can purchase with experience throughout the game. You'll place all of these cards with the yellow or gold border around them off to the side of your player board for future purchases. Each player's starting deck also has an ultimate card, which you can see clearly labeled under her attack Nightblade. Each player's starting ultimate card goes face up next to their player scroll. The remaining cards are shuffled and placed face down next to the player's scroll board to form their draw deck. After shuffling, you'll draw 6 cards from your draw deck to form your hand. I'll go ahead and draw the beginning hands for each of the other players, and I'll explain how the cards work and what all the symbols and numbers on here mean throughout the gameplay. With our characters set up, next we would choose a villain. Instead of doing this at random, I'm going to play against the one villain that I have not done a game against yet, which means I'll be playing against Cinderfall. Now that I've chosen to play against Cinderfall, I look in the front of the scenario book, and inside it gives you a little bit of backstory, what their starting aura will be, how many victory points that villain is worth, and the recommended objectives to choose from. Her starting aura is 75, which we'll mark here on the villain's aura track, and we use the red cubes to do so. Put 1 on the 70 and 1 on the 5. The speed bonus and the damage bonus both begin the game at 0, and those are marked by the yellow and purple cubes. Next, we create the villain's deck, and there are 4 types of cards in the villain's deck. We have event cards, and then 3 different types of stances: aggressive, balanced, and subtle. The event cards get placed off to the side while you're creating the deck. These 3 will be thoroughly shuffled together, even though the backs are different. Next, we'll separate this deck into equal sections, as equal as you possibly can, totaling 1 more than there are event cards. And in my case, I have 5 event cards here, so I'm going to make 6 separate piles out of this draw deck. The deck was split into 6 almost equal piles. These first 5 piles here have 7 cards in them. This last one only has 6. Then I'll mix up the event cards. And then I'll place 1 on top of each of the piles, with the exception of not placing 1 on top of the first pile. And then stack them all together, and this will create the villain's deck. The villain's deck will then go on the space marked for the villain's deck, and then we'll place the villain fury token on the starting place for Villain Fury. Next, we will choose objectives. The scenario book recommends that if you're playing a 2-player game that you have 1 objective. In a 3-player game, you have 2 objectives, and in a 4-player game, you have 3. Since I'm playing a 3-player game, I will choose 2 objectives. Objectives come in many types and difficulties. The green ones are your easy, the yellow are the medium, and the red are the hard objectives. And you have 2 different types. You have minion types and challenge types. Since I don't have any experience fighting this villain, I'm going to take it a little bit easy on myself and choose 1 easy challenge objective, which is find Zwei, and 1 medium minion objective, the Grim Onslaught. Let's get both of these objectives set up. For find Zwei, Zwei is trapped in the ruins with Grim and danger everywhere. Search for and rescue Zwei, then add him to your team. To set up this objective, I'll shuffle all 8 Zwei tokens and place them unrevealed on this objective. And I'll go over the instructions once we get into the gameplay. Here is the stack of 8 Zwei tokens. They're all the same on the back. And then on this side, they all have the same symbol, except for the one where you actually find Zwei. I shuffled the tokens and placed them in the stack here, just to the side of the game board. Now we'll set up our second objective, Grim Onslaught. The endless hordes of Grim are bent on the destruction of civilization and must be stopped. Setup. Shuffle the Grim minion deck and place it next to this objective. Here's the Grim minion deck. There are several different types. These are the card backs. On the front, you actually have the minions themselves. So we'll give this a shuffle and place it face down with these backs up next to the objective to create a draw deck. The Grim minion deck is shuffled and placed next to its objective card. We're set up and ready to begin in our attempt to win the game by defeating Cinderfall.